How are we doing, everybody? Welcome back to the Sean Atwood channel with myself, Ron Swanson, and of course, John Wedger for tonight, Crime Theory. It's been a while since we've seen you stationary, John. You're usually driving and all over the place. How are you been? Fill us in on how you've been. What's been going on?
Yeah, it's gone absolutely crazy. So I've been invited on just podcast after podcast. It's just gone mad, and as a guest, I'm sort of getting big hits with them as well.
Yeah, good.
So it's it's beneficial. It can be a bit of an inconvenience for me because I'm not sort of gaining much out of it, but I've got a message to give, and I will use the platforms to give it. But something very, very interesting occurred
Okay,
the other day.
Take us through it.
So there was a talk being given by the Fortean Society. Now there's a publication called the Fortean Times, very occultic. I used to read it when I was younger, and it's all about sort of things like Jack the Ripper and mythical ghosts. Witch trials and all sorts of stuff goes on. It's an interesting supernatural publication. I've grown out of it now, but back in the day I used to read it, and the guys work with used to read it. So anyway, the Fortean Society were putting on a discussion, a talk, and they were convening in a pub in the East End of London, the old Jack the Ripper sort of territory.
Yeah,
and it's where these people sort of meet. And I've got to be careful not to be too critical here, because I think there were quite a few. Look, for many years working with paedophiles and victims of paedophilia, like a survivor, I got a nose for it. And now working with ex-offenders and things like that, and sometimes I go in the prison system, and I have to do stuff with sex offenders and things like that. There's a vibe to them. Let me tell you that, and you can smell them. Most of them are victims and survivors themselves. Most of them are. I'm not saying that victims and survivors are paedophiles. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying are that paedophiles.
Got to try and say PDF files. Sadly, for the algorithm.
PDF files. Sorry, so I just lost my foot in there. But on the whole, PDF files do tend to come from places of pain, and some haven't made that choice to break that cycle, unfortunately. Anyway. There was a discussion being given by someone who's sort of self-proclaimed as one of the best journalists in the country, and who sort of made every effort to try and debunk the myth, in her words, that is satanic ritual abuse. Now, if something's a myth, why would you make the effort to dispel it? Because it don't exist. I mean, it's an infinite thing, isn't it? Because all these things that are mythical, why waste your time? If they don't exist, why waste your time debunking them? It just seems pointless. You could do it on goblins and munchkins and fairies.
I'm with you.
It's like things that you haven't done. Well, it's infinite. Concentrate on what you have done, what is real. Anyway, her name is Rosie Waterhouse. She's a doctor of journalism. She works for the Independent, Private Eye magazine, and The Guardian, and she's gained her doctorate in trying to debunk satanic ritual abuse. And anyway, so I said I had a couple of my team, as it were. They went to this meeting, and they covertly recorded it. And I said, I'm going. They went, well, she knows you, and I don't care, because she's always attacking me, especially in Private Eye magazine, whenever I sort of speak out about ritual abuse and the reality of it.
And the countless victims you've spoken to, of course.
Oh, and the damage it does to victims. It is a reality, and that's that. Okay, there are people that get caught up in the conspiracy, and they reckon they've seen the Queen eat babies, and David Icke turning lizards, the royal family becoming reptilians, and all that. That sort of doesn't help the cause, I must admit. And sometimes I do talk to these people who later on do come out with outlandish claims. But and unfortunately, Mr. Wong being arrested for a case of kidnap didn't really, boost our campaigns.
Brand, yeah.
We did a bit of damage there, but that's a more complex and a multifaceted, deep-rooted issue. However, this woman, she's given her talk. The Hampstead hoaxed, so she's making a mockery of those two poor children that endured the most horrific abuse.
We can't mention the name of that. We can talk indirectly.
Well, the North London case.
Yeah.
But the two poor children that suffered horrifically, and I'm telling you now, are suffering to this day, and I have that from direct contact. They are suffering to this day because of what they've been through, and God bless both of them, especially on a night like tonight, which will be very triggering for them. So she decided this Dr. Waterhouse to mock those two poor kids, and other emphasis was on those that she claimed are falsely accused of ritual abuse, and not the poor child victims who've endured it. And then she came out with this most vile statement, right? That they did suffer incest, but so what? They suffered incest, and then a member, the chair of the Fortean Society, who looked like Cat Weasel himself. Now he then turned around and went, "Well, we all know children lie, don't we?"
Wow.
Right? Now, if a couple of my survivor friends had been there, namely someone like Bill Maloney, well, I'm telling you what, that guy wouldn't have a jaw now.
Yeah.
Inside, I wanted to go up and plant one straight on his chin.
Yeah.
And a few of the other people in there, they were vile, wretched, horrible individuals that mocked. Not only did they mock Christianity, so that's more of a personal thing with me, but they mocked the child survivors of the most horrific abuse going. And it was just appalling. Now, her talk was an hour long with about 10 slides. She was attacking Donald Trump. She was attacking the Pizzagate, blah, blah, blah. She was doing her best to attack anything. But then there were 3 slides there, and she spent, I would say, a quarter to a third of her allotted time attacking. Now, you might have heard of this guy. He really is a menace, Ron. This guy's a real menace, and to those wrongfully accused of SRA, and he has done a lot to destroy their lives, like these lying children. He's a former detective called John Wedger.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's why we have you here, John. That's why we have you here.
She had a picture of me, right?
Yeah.
She then decides to attack me, slate me, slag me off, everything she could.
Yeah.
And the irony of this, I was sat directly opposite her, looking at her, and she didn't even know. And I was thinking, and then get this, and then I turned round to a couple of members of the crowd, and I was getting up, I was going and getting a beer, I was asking where the toilet was, so I was doing my best for people to recognise me.
Yeah.
There's a picture of me on the screen, about 6 foot high.
Brilliant.
Right? And then I said to someone, I went, who's this detective? Did she mention a policeman? Yes, there's this crazy guy, this, evangelical zealoted Christian called John Wedger. And I went, oh, that's a really strange name, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's a nutcase. And I'm talking to this guy, looking at her as well, and my picture is on the screen now. And it really was a home goal for them, and it was 1-0 for the survivors of ritual abuse and Team Wedger. We went on to home territory, and we really got a victory. And I want to put it out there, Rosie Waterhouse, you're an idiot. You're an out-and-out idiot. And only God can save you. Only God can save you, because you're twisted, very twisted, stupid woman. So that was my bit of undercover work. I didn't even need to make an effort. If I'd have gone into the criminal community, and maybe the victim community, straight away they'd have gone, hey, that's you. Honestly, you can't pull the wool over their eyes. But this time, it was very much white middle class, pro ritual abuse,
Yeah.
anti-victim and survivors who classed. Now, I want people to understand this. This is Rosie Waterhouse, who's a journalist, a doctor, teaches at the City of London University, teaches journalism. She was mocking the child victims of ritual abuse and S abuse. She was mocking them and
And
attacking
is her
them.
standpoint it's all a fabrication?
Yeah, she said they've just made it up in their heads. And there's a therapist called Valerie Sinison, and this woman's gone on to save many lives because she's therapized, like a lady like Carolyn Bramwell, I know, survivors of ritual abuse that have a DID. She puts on a lot of art exhibitions that survivors contribute to, does a lot of good work because these are people with very complex needs because they have DID, like Dr. Joan Coleman, who made the range list, which Rosie Waterhouse is on the range list.
So, how do they explain children having the same experiences with no connections? How do they explain the documented cases where witnesses have testified and said that it was ritualistic? I don't understand how you can just.
Well, they can't and they don't. And not only that, okay, you might be able to falsely implant a memory, but I can't put a memory of taste and smell, can I? So why is that consistent? The taste, the smell, the settings,
Yeah,
you
well,
know,
this
the
is what I'm saying.
candles, the deviancy, the S deviancy that goes on,
Yeah,
the things that are beyond the capability of a child to manufacture,
correct.
yet they consistently do to great effect.
Yeah,
But this crowd and the Fortune Society, where you are a bunch of twisted, weird individuals, and I hope that this message goes out to them. And Rosie Waterhouse, if in any way I can be a thorn in your journalistic career, I will be so.
so let me
And
ask
I
you this.
will be taking legal advice as to the libelist rhetoric that came out your gob regarding myself and Valerie Sinison. You are, it was unprofessional and it was juvenile and it was vexated. I can't see what the benefit of it was, and they were then accusing these little kids of ruining adults' lives when she herself admitted that these children had suffered incest. Now, if we look at what incest is, it is the abuse of a child, usually by a male member of the family. Um, so if that isn't enough for a child to endure and go through their adult life with
Yeah,
those memories and those experiences ripping their soul and their heart apart and their mind, but that wasn't good enough for her. She still had to destroy them even further. So, and again, she works for Private Eye magazine, and the editor of that is Ian Hislop, who is always on Have I Got News for You and all them other pseudo intellectual, not even funny, middle class white English comedy that seems to plague
yeah.
our TV now. Bizarre, twisted people. So anyway, Team Wedger had a massive goal there. I had other members of my team now that were covertly filming it. So we've
So,
got the footage.
John, let's just broaden this a bit. So, in your opinion, what is the end game for them? What is their goal? Like, what's the bigger picture?
Well, yeah. Well, I suppose it may be a preemptive strike. That if they can get it cemented in the consciousness of the public that this is a myth,
Yeah, okay.
then they win. And I want your victims, your audience, your immense audience, to understand that statistically and realistically, and having been, an investigator on the most sensitive and complex crimes going, and that is the abuse of children.
100%.
Only 2%, right, attain a conviction in the Crown Court, and that's of the 100% of people that come forward. So many don't come forward because they're frightened, they're scared, they don't think anyone will listen, they
Yeah.
distrust authority, they distrust the police, or they're emotionally broken, But those that do, only 2% and that means they need to get a detective similar to myself that has got the dogged, determined attitude to see it through. And if you want gold, you must dig for it.
Yeah.
It's even worse now because our police force is second to shite. They're inept and they're useless because that's what they want. So it's even going to be worse. So, of course, these
So you
things
think
don't go.
this is a passive conditioning of the average media consumer, effectively? Then, so the people that just consume the newspaper and the news once a day on the telly, they don't venture forth for truth or answers. These are the ones that are going to be hit with this, right?
Yeah, and also, what you understand is the victimology here. That victims and survivor of this, that the worst type of S abuse, when you have got that spiritual element, which is usually followed up with physical torture resulting in mind control. Okay, that's why a lot of them can't talk because they've been tortured and mind controlled not to. But it doesn't mean they can't communicate via the media of art. And those that are quite proficient at art have gone on to do the most incredibly telling tales within art. All right, we need proof, not truth. Had it been the other way around, a lot of these people, and I think half of the crowd at the Fortune lot would probably be standing trial for some sort of misdemeanors because I tell you, I can smell a wrong and I smell a
Yeah,
few in there by my team. I did smell a few. So, this sort of abuse doesn't go on the top deck of a bus like violent urban crime on
yeah,
rush hour, and you never have the privilege of an Amazon doorbell picking up the footage. It doesn't work like that. This is very, very secret, secluded stuff.
yeah,
We have just seen 10 people convicted in Glasgow
yeah.
for SRA crimes.
Did they not
And,
drop? Was there not part of the case where they dropped some of the charges to make it sound less culty and less ritualistic?
of course, and there is a move forward now, under what was Project Violet, to bring in ritual abuse as an aggravated factor, which is the case in the USA and in South Africa, in Italy. They have occult crime units, and
Yeah,
if you go to Uganda, it is almost a day in day out thing. That the police will come across cases of voodoo and hoodoo and juju, and it is a reality. So to sit there and say it don't exist, well, it is an absolute massive lie.
I mean,
And she
you
is a
kind of.
liar.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. You don't even have to go as far as the outskirts of the UK, John. Like you've given people a lot there by giving them buzzwords that they've heard of before. But touch on just, for example, the individuals that you've interviewed and the people that conduct these ritualistic abuses. I mean, because a lot of people still don't believe in the hierarchy of a lot of this. So, can you touch a little bit on that for us?
Well, it does go on, and I think we're going to see this in the P Diddy stuff. I think we're going to see an influence towards some sort of ritualistic connotation, something borderline in at the diluted end of it of witchcraft and going on to occultic rituals. I think you're going to see that. And
I
that was something I was listening to the other day where a couple of people were even discussing it. And at the higher end of it, satanic worship. And, we get quite a few rap stars like Lil Wayne and a few others that openly state it, and then we get people like Bob Dylan who turned around and said, I sold my soul to the devil. Jennifer Lopez, John Ramirez, the evangelist preacher grew up with her, and as openly said, she's into the occult. Marilyn Manson doesn't hide it. I can go on and on and on.
Yeah.
I haven't got my notes in front of me, but there's so much. And then we got the Reigns list. Funny enough, Waterhouse is mentioned on the Reigns list, and Dr. Joan Coleman, the leading therapist for people suffering from split personality for the Maudsley Hospital, one of the biggest psychiatric hospitals in London.
Yeah.
She went on, if victims of DID, two or more, name the same person, journalistically, she could put it out there. And she did. It's a 16-page document of who's who of British society that are involved in SRA. They're all in there. You know, you've got names like Elton John there, Michael Barrymore. There's members of the royal family named. They're on there. They have not. She's dead now, but when in her living years, Dr. Joan Coleman was never brought in for libel. She was never arrested. No, none of that. They have not taken the document down because journalistically they can't, because it's the truth. And you can check it out. It gives dates and the consistency, especially when it comes to sacrifice, is incredulous. You know, and I've spoke to so many of them. And do you know what? If I'm classed as a menace by those that you know that suck the phallus of the Antichrist,
you're getting too close to it, mate. That's all this is. This is because you're nailing it. That's the problem.
I'm proud. Yeah, I've done the right thing. And I'm proud. I'm good. I'm good. I hope I am a menace to her, because my loyalty is to the children and the survivors of this. And Jesus has given me a job to expose this and to speak out about it, because it hides in the shadows. It is hidden. And this is the biggest secret. And this is what we're going to see consistently with these cases that came out. I mean, Epstein Island was so entrenched in symbolism and occultism, and yet people don't join the dots together. But it is changing. It is changing. The police have got a conference next month, and that's to do with lobbying Parliament to make ritual abuse an aggravating element to abuse of children and the art of children. So it will happen. It will happen. But it was a real shocker to that the effort this woman had gone to.
Yeah, I bet.
To try and educate this weird section of society. Which seems to be this group, the 40 in society. I may not be speaking for the entirety of the group, but those that represented them that were in that place now. Well, I'm telling you what, you know, having been someone who'd worked with PDF files and someone who now can smell one, you know, my nose was working overtime. I'll just say that.
100%.
What a weird bunch. And this guy stood up and he said, "We all know children are liars." The head of the Fortean Society stood up on the topic of abuse of children. He stood up and boldly stated, we've got it on camera, we all know children are liars. Well, I'm telling you what, head of Fortean Society, I'm going to put that out there, and I'm going to send that to the survivor groups. And let's see how many friends you have after that.
Yeah, how can you stand there and make a claim like this? I mean, children, I mean, that is effectively writing off every abuse case ever, right? I mean, that's how passive it is.
Let me tell you what it is. Children do not lie about this, right? I've said this before on your show. Out of all the hundreds of cases, I dealt with one where a kid lied, and that was acrimony, right? It does happen, but it's so negligible. And the kids, because of the stringent nature of evidence gathering, and we have this thing now called Achieving Best Evidence, ABE, in which we do video recorded testimonials under very strict conditions. And if we violate and we even infer as to a leading question or a closed question, because children naturally acquiesce.
Well, here, before you touch on that, just expand a little bit, because you've spoken about this before, and it was actually quite fascinating. And it's to do with interrogation of a child, where you have to have two different camera angles and two people there to interview them, so that there's no chance of hiding the child. It's fascinating. I'll let John explain.
You need total openness, honesty, and transparency. So every connection you have with that child prior to that meeting, which must be kept to a minimum, has to be written down and recorded and time-stamped, you know, and kept in a journal, a chronology, right? The kids are not allowed to go for therapy. So as much as the NSPCC and these other charities want to provide therapy for these children that have been abused, they can't do it, because of the allegation of false memory syndrome, which Rosie Waterhouse was promoting. right? The
Yeah.
officers and the social workers and even the barristers need to be trained, sexual offence investigation technique trained. They need to go through this very stringent forensic training.
Yeah.
Okay. When you go in, you have two officers. One is in a control room and they will monitor the audio and the visual on two cameras. One is a pan, tilt, zoom roaming camera, and one is a static camera. Your hands, to most as you can, they need to be on your lap, so you
Yeah.
can't even gesticulate with your hands. You can encourage people like that. Your face has to be deadpan.
Yeah.
You cannot show emotion, shock, horror, or enjoyment,
Yeah.
because you can get enjoyment when kids are really giving you what you
Here's
need.
the thing, right? If you want to break this down, I think if you've got kids and you're a parent, we've all had moments where, like, you've managed to convince your kid of, you know, whatever, just by giving them a smile or a positive reaction to what they're doing, and it's so incredibly, you know, dangerous to think that these interviews could be conducted in any way but this, John, because of how susceptible children are.
Well, and that's why the guidelines are strict. Now, the questioning, you have to stick to open questioning, and they form 4 questions. Tell me what happened. And then they'll tell you, but they'll give you an overview. And the kid doesn't want to go into the dynamics and the detail, but the devil, excuse the pun, is in the detail. And they'll tell you something, and it might be, he sexed me. Well, let's break them down. Who is he? We need to know who he is. We need to know from top to bottom who he is. And also, what we've got to bear in mind is that kids, we'll have 1 minute, one minute, just don't bear with me.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, everyone, just so that everyone knows, at
Yeah,
9
give me a
o'clock,
minute.
we have our big show tonight with Jaguar Wright and Big Homie CC. It's starting here in half an hour. Make sure you guys are there for that. Can I ask you guys to like and share and push this out? It's Halloween. People are going to be out having a good time. Let's remind them that when they're back, they've got something to settle into. And Jaguar Wright and Big Homie CC is going to be a banger, an absolute banger.
Right, I'm back. I'm back with you. Sorry about that.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm always wearing more than one hat. But right. So if I get back to the question styles,
Sure.
so tell me, and then so how do we elaborate from that? Well, we'll in the kid's own words. Who is he?
Yep.
Oh, it's Mr. So and so. Who is Mr. So and so? Right. Explain. Describe them. Show me. Pen and paper. Draw it. And when they draw, your mind takes you to that thing, and then you want to go on about the incident. You
Yeah.
need to know who, what, where, why, how, but you ask them, tell me, explain, describe, show. Open questions. The moment you go down the road of closed questioning, where there are no options other than those that give you, isn't it right, he had black hair? Wow. And a child wants to please, they want to acquiesce.
Just, you went very quickly there. So, for example, what you're saying there is the difference between what color was his hair and saying, does he have black hair? Because that has a guide with a one answer. I'm with you.
You're even assuming the person has hair. So
Okay,
you say,
yeah, I'm with you. Yeah,
describe them, and they say, well, describe the head then.
Yeah,
And that's where you go from there. And then you have to quantify. How do they know? Oh, he's a tall man. What does tall mean? Right?
Yeah.
What does tall mean? If you're from Amsterdam or Lithuania, tall means someone 10 foot, right?
Yeah.
Because the average Lithuanian is 6'5", and the average Dutchman is 8 foot tall, right? Now, if you're from the Philippines or a pygmy tribe, a tall man is someone over 5'3".
Well, keeping in mind this as well, this has come from the mouth of a child as well. So,
of course,
yeah.
Of course, but the kid wants to please you and they want to acquiesce. So if you say to someone, it was a green car, wasn't it? That's a leading question and a closed question all in one. That in itself would get the whole interview thrown out.
Wow.
So in her vile rhetoric that she gave when she was just saying that they persecuted these poor victims, which are adults, who had already, in her own admission, had already abused their children incestually.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the mindset of going through your everyday, right?
Yeah.
Knowing that your own father, mother, uncle, granddad had abused you. The people that are put on this planet to make you grow, to love you, to be kind to you, have done that, have breached that, and have the ultimate act of betrayal. And
100%.
this woman, who is set herself up as a bastion of independent and honest journalism, is mocking these
Yeah.
innocent little angels and treating the abusers, the ancestral abusers, as victims. And it was the most sickening thing. And I'm telling you what, my blood was boiling. It was boiling. And I said to my team, I said, if my friend Bill Maloney was here now, there wouldn't be one jaw left unbroken in this room.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I'm telling you now, that pub would
Yeah,
be on
John,
fire.
there's a reason why I hunt these people on the internet and not in person.
Mate,
It's self-preservation over anything else. Do you know what I'm saying?
I'm telling you now, it was. But you know, and I think if anyone wants to complain journalistically, they are survivors. We will put out online this meeting, and I hope that Ipsos are contacted. I hope people go to their MPs about this. I hope
Yeah.
Private Eye magazine is contacted as well. And they show what their number one journalist, what she is going around the country doing, and what she's talking about.
If we believe the bigger story, the people that you're asking to cover this are owned by the same people that are, I'm assuming, pushing these people to go against the narrative because they are the problem. These individuals who own the media, right?
Well, some are, but there's some very, very good journalists out there that have covered the Guesthouse case, that have covered the Dolphin Square and the Independent Inquiry. There's one or two I can name that have been superb in putting stuff out there. I don't want to name them on here.
Well, I didn't necessarily mean the journalists. I mean, from a, we often talk about the politicians, the bigger picture, John, the reach that this PDF file syndicate goes. And is it not out of the question to assume then that the major medias, the BBCs and the like, they're controlling the narrative anyway?
Well, when you consider that this woman teaches at the City of London University, what is she teaching? What is she sending out the next generation of journalists that have been totally tainted, that children lie and make these things up? And I'm telling you now, and I'm telling the British public, children do not lie on the whole. They do not lie, especially when it comes down to police interviews. Children will acquiesce. And if the investigator isn't up to standard, the investigator will ruin that case. And this is where the judges have to do the right thing and throw these interviews out. And in doing so, they end up throwing out the the whole case.
Yeah.
But when the burden of proof is beyond all reasonable doubt, and your average success rate is 2%, it's a tough call. And that's why police training has evolved because of mistakes that were made in Nottingham, Rotherham and the Orkney Islands, where these SRA cases did crop up.
Okay.
But they were successful in the Glasgow case. They were successful in the case against Colin Batley, the Kidwelly case. And many other, I think there's about 12 cases where ritual abuse what was seen as being the main element into the abuse of children. And so to say it don't exist is an absolute lie.
I'm actually blown away from what I've heard from you tonight, John, about these individuals, and it's shocking. Because
we've got a team. I've got a couple of ex-old Bill, and I've got ex-military guys and guys from the security industry that will go to these meetings, and they are actively going to these meetings, and they're going in with covert equipment and they're recording them. So and that's what they're doing. and we're coming back and we're analysing. We're doing what we call field intelligence work. We don't put it out there. I don't tell the world what we're doing. I will be doing it tonight. I'm going to an address tonight with a small team, a couple of ex-military guys, and an ex-fighter, and we're going and we're doing surveillance on a church.
Hell
There's got
yeah.
information about ritual abuse going on, and we do that a lot. I don't put it out there because I don't want the world to know. But
Obviously, mate. Yeah, I understand that fully, but that is some Batman level shizness. Please like and share, everybody. I was asked to put up the non-verbal signal for abuse and distress, and you can see the 3 stages of it. Your hand open flat, tuck in your thumb, fold this down, and this is the non-verbal signal if you need help in any situation like this.
and what I say is, now's the time for people to speak out. We're seeing this P Diddy stuff coming out, and I want to talk to the survivors, no matter how old you are, even if it goes back to the 50s and the 60s. Keep speaking out. If the government inquiry has been and gone, don't worry about it. Speak out. Speak out. Go to your MP. Go to your police. Give them the opportunity to do FL, which is probably what they will do. But speak out about it. And the sheer weight of truth coming forward will bring about a change. It will bring about a change. I'm telling you now. Before I started campaigning against this, I'm not saying that I'm reinventing the wheel, because I'm not. Many have done it before me, but millions, tens of millions, maybe 100 million, I don't know, have heard my testimonies around the world and have come forward and they've said to me, John, I was one of them kids. I suffered this. And it happens daily. I get it daily. And that's been consistent for nearly a decade now. I go down the street and I get thanked. I get hugged by survivors saying, John, thank you for speaking out for us. Right. And it still goes on. I'm not as prominent as I once was. And then when you get these, what I class as pro satanic abuse bellends, putting on slideshows, attacking child victims, it sickens me to the core, especially when one of them has got a doctorate. And I'll say, when we go out there, I want people to watch this footage. If there's anything libelous, then make a complaint. Go to the standards.
I can't wait till you put this stuff out, and then we can react to it one week, because I'm sure I'm going to have some things to say when I see this, John. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, one of my team has put stuff out online already. So stuff is online. There was full video footage, and there's stills gone out there about it. But I was shocked. But I was sat opposite, looking at this woman, because I wanted to smell and look at her, and I do. I want to confront my enemies. I want to see who they are, and I do, and I will go amongst them. And if I don't, my team will. And we have done that consistently. So my message goes out to the pro ritual abuse people. We're on you. We are onto you. We've infiltrated you. We covertly record you. And when you put on these public events to spout your bile, our boys and our girls may well be in the crowd.
Yeah.
They'll be in the crowd.
This is the thing, John. When we look at the maths, it's 1% versus 99%. Now, John, I'm going to leave you by yourself for about 4 minutes, because I need to go get a delivery at the door, and I'm absolutely needing to definitely go spend a moment. Tell us a little bit what you've got coming up, or continue to slam this group's head into the ground. It's up to you.
No. I mean, that was just something that I thought I would mention. It made me laugh, and it actually put me on a bit of a high. It reminded me of my old detective covert infiltration sort of stuff days, when you get amongst them and they haven't got a clue, so their discernment just is not there. But it goes on. The reality is, ritual abuse goes on. Tonight will be a main date in the satanic calendar, and my heart goes out to all those children that are caught up in this, and to those that get triggered memories, that do get these date triggered memories that come up within their body memory through unresolved trauma, and it causes them untold grief on a day like today and many of the high satanic dates. So my heart goes out to you, but what I would say is, look, please speak out, and if you can get in touch with me, do so. I'll continue where I can to fight your corner. And the one thing is, I don't like people hurting children. Adults can do what they want to each other. I have got no interest, but leave the children alone. It's not their fight. And when you hurt the children, you destroy their souls and you destroy generations to come. And I know that some people turn their back from God because God, in their opinion, abandoned them. But it wasn't God that abandoned them. The one who should have protected them, their mother may have done that. You know, the lioness weren't there to protect the cubs. The father made a choice to hurt them or even be absent. So it wasn't God. It's evil that does that. God doesn't do that. God, Jesus never abandons any child. He came for the children. But those that hurt the kids, they are going to suffer. They are going to suffer. And you might run to all these other deities to try and give you the strength, the power, and the solace that you think you need. But you need therapy and you need help. That's what you need. And you need forgiveness because it ain't going to help you. It's evil that did this. God didn't do this. Good doesn't do this. Good doesn't hurt. Evil hurts. And people make this choice. They make this choice to go out there and destroy lives because they gain from it. And we are going to see this in the P. Diddy thing. That will be the underlying influential current that goes through it. That will be the secret, the monetary secret of their success. This is the thing that is giving them the step up the ladder, the fame, the ego, the notoriety. And it will be that. It will be self-adulation, self-worship, you know, an abandonment of God and a movement towards the darkness.
Yeah.
And it will come out. It will come out. There's even mention now that Prince Harry might have been an attendee at these parties. And it was said to me at the very beginning when I started campaigning, but by one of the, you know, the bravest police officer, a very senior officer called Lenny Harper, and he said to me that the tentacles of what you'll look at will go right to the heart of the British establishment, and that will involve the American establishment.
I just want to say, if any of you are catching this for the first time, John and I have done 2 seasons of Crime Theory where we delve into the last 70 years of this topic within the UK, connecting crimes, incidents, celebrities, and this entire PDFL syndicate. Thank you for filling in there, John. We've got about 15 minutes, and I just want to remind everyone to please like and share. Please make sure you go over and support John. Jaguar Right is at 9 o'clock. And John, 2 questions. First of all, when we getting more John in his pants swimming in the cold water? And second of all, who do you think?
Go
on. I'll go with that one first.
Yeah, well, the pants swimming will come back because there's no point doing it in the summer. Anyone can do that. So I may well start that. I've got some building work. I'm going back into construction work for the next few months. So I may well start that on Christmas Eve and go through the Christmas week with pants swimming. That's the time to do it.
So tell us, I mean, obviously it sounds quite funny when you say it like that, but it is a serious thing that you're doing. Tell us a little bit. Tell the
right, so it's a campaign called PSAD, Pants Swimming Against Depression, because, you know, my focus is on the victims and survivors of abuse, and a byproduct of that is mental illness and unfortunately suicide.
Yeah.
It is a major contributory factor to the premature death of men, and they're lost. And, you know, medicine's not the answer sometimes, but when you get into cold water and you swim, it is the most amazing thing. Okay, it might be deemed unnatural and painful and
it's cold water. It's cold water. You don't have to be that hard.
That the body and the mind doesn't want to do. But you need to overcome that and bite the bullet, because something incredible happens. Once you've got your head under, your whole body and your mind goes into survival mode. And then you start getting a glow and a burn. And that is adrenaline and endorphins absolutely flooding your system. Your adrenaline goes up by 150%. Your endorphins increase by 500%. 5-fold increase in
Yeah.
endorphins, the feel good
It is
factor.
amazing. I'll be honest with you.
And but the amazing thing with this, Ron, is that it's the mental thing. So if you've got problems, some people when they've suffered abuse and mental health issues, their problems can mount up and it can bring them down, and they can lose it over the smallest of things. And when you get into that water, you have no place, no time, and no need to get hung up on, has a dog been wormed? You know, have you paid your electricity bill? Is your neighbour cutting the grass on the Sunday and it's too loud for you?
Yep.
Your mind is on, I need to stay alive. And what it does, it prioritizes your problems. And it does them in the most amazing way. So when you're swimming, firstly, you want to stay alive. You're focused. You're a bit like when...
It's like a reality check. Like reality.
Yeah. It's a bit like in the police when you're on a very frenetic operation, a real-time thing. You're in survival mode. You're hyper vigilant, and you're in that moment. And it's the most amazing thing. And pants swimming, PSAD does that. It puts you in this place of total hypervigilance. You know, your priorities are where they should be.
Just
and the moment.
Yeah, so the marketing factor is the pants, people. The actual point of it is the cold water therapy, just in case anyone missed the nuance.
Yeah. I mean, the reason I do it is because I'm going to be stripped bare as best as the law of the land will allow. And there's something a bit indignant about a middle-aged man approaching 60 and cold water and, you know, baby field mice is what.
Listen, I know exactly where you're coming from there, Mike.
You know, there's nothing to boast about. Let me put it that way.
Yes.
So I need to maintain my own dignity as
well. Correct.
But
we can allow you a cloth.
What I'm going to do is I my GoPro camera. There is another one going about now. My GoPro camera got water in it last Christmas when I was in the Canary Islands doing a bit of pants swimming, and so I haven't done any really for a year. But I will be back over the Christmas period when it is needed, and that's the time when there are problems as well. Someone's put on their Pat from EastEnders on it. Yeah, Pat St Clemens is on the range list. Pat St Clemens, according to Joan Coleman, is a Satanist. Yes, according to Joan Coleman.
Allegedly. There we go.
Anyway, so and I don't like the suicides. I lost my best friend to suicide. He was a victim of incestual abuse by his father, and it destroyed his life. And I lost a very, very good friend. And I want to help in any way I can, but I want to remasculate men at the same time. I want men to start being men again, you know, and I don't think I'm wrong in saying that. I want to masculate society how it should be.
Yeah, I'm with you.
And I'm not promoting going home and drinking beer and beating the wife up, anything like that. I'm on about, you know, decent things, dignified things, and cold water in the right context won't kill you. You know?
Yeah, as long as you don't keep yourself permanently underneath it or do it in a situation where you can be lost due to a current. Do you know what I'm saying? Start off in the bath, But if anyone's interested in that, there is a lot of collapsible, dunk tanks that you can buy for cold water therapy for home.
Of course,
awesome.
And these are brilliant as well. These little plunge pools. I know a survivor who's struggling with depression, and that's what she got out of my contribution to pants swimming. She decided she couldn't go, you know, into the rivers like I did, so she did her own setting, and she raves about the results of it. So cold water therapy, in its essence, cold water therapy, it works, and the benefits are unparalleled. They are unparalleled. But there were many reasons why I stopped it. I become very, very ill last year. I had a major health scare. It's not unresolved, but I'm learning to live with it. If that makes sense. I can't go into too much, and
I'm with you, bro.
And I don't want to upset my family about stuff, but it was quite traumatic earlier on, and I had to stop a lot. I had to stop a lot of things. I had to stop a lot of things, but I'm fighting back, and and moving forward. So yeah, there will be a resurgence of Pantswoman Against Depression. Be sad, do not be sad. And the one thing I really, really want to push, our documentary that I'm doing with Underground Films called Redemption. We're on the final edit now.
Sweet.
It will be pay-per-view. Please, please, please pay and view it. There are 3 testimonies by 3 incredibly high-profile gangsters.
Yeah.
I'm not insulting these guys by saying that. 2 are phenomenally well known on the British crime scene, and one of them, if anyone lived in the East End, this guy basically he ran the East End to a degree.
Yeah.
In respect to the security debt collecting industry. All of them hard men. One a convicted killer, shall we say?
Yeah.
An accessory to murder. One a potential killer. One a former world champion fighter. And one a very, very dangerous man. All in the mix.
Sure.
There's 3 of them, and they give the most honest.
And when's this out, John?
Well,
You're in the last edit. You're in the final edit. That's right.
We're trying to get it out before Christmas. Unfortunately, my editor went through a lot of personal stuff. And
yeah, the reason I'm asking is, rest assured, viewers, when it comes time to promote this stuff, you will all know about it. But John, listen, we have got a live stream in 6 minutes time, so I'm sadly we're gonna have to cut it off there. Thank you everyone for watching. Go and support John on his YouTube channel. Make sure you guys are keeping with us on this spooky Halloween evening on the Sean Atwood channel. We're back in 6 minutes with Jaguar Wright, Big Homie CC, and we're breaking open the Diddy case. John, you're a legend. Thank you so much for being here. Please like, please share, and from me, Ron Swanson, as always, be safe out there, guys.